Hi, you're with Pastor Jennifer for 3 Minutes of Theology. So, this past week we saw a major transition in leadership in our country, and I thought it might be a good idea to take a look at the Holy Scriptures themselves for lessons on leadership. And so, the story I thought would be great to do this with is the story of Herod and the Magi, in which case there are 6 kings, but only one who's worthy of wearing the crown. So let's take a look. We first start with Herod, and he is self-titled as Herod the Great. But I tell you what, that greatness came at a huge cost. What he did was he established these enormous building projects, particularly Caesarea, which I refer to as Caesar's by the Sea. And he did so at the cost of these enormous taxes. People hated him for those taxes that he leveled. And he's known just as a tyrant. He killed off some of his favorite wives and sons. He's a bad dude, an example of how absolute power can corrupt absolutely. The next 3 kings in the story, of course, the Magi themselves. And they have a great story in that they are explorers and scientists. They follow the star that takes them all the way west until they eventually find Jesus. And it's important the way that they are faithful in that call. But beyond this story, they're more diplomats than anything else. They occupy their crowns, but are not remembered further on for their other ways that they empowered their people. Our 5th king in the story is named Archelaus. And if you don't remember that name, it's because nobody would have remembered it. He occupied that crown for 10 years, but did nothing with it. And an example of how sometimes people get into leadership positions and are really unable to make a lasting difference. But the last king, who would never wear a formal crown, but a crown of thorns, is Jesus himself. And what Jesus models for us in terms of leadership is servant leadership. Not a person who exploited those over whom he ruled, but saw himself as primary servant, and his primary responsibility was empowering them with the love of God. So what I want us all to remember is that we're always in leadership positions in one way or another, even if it's just ourselves at home with our pets, whatever else. We're always being looked at as a source, a symbol, a sign of leadership. And when we remember that the best, most valid leadership is always coming from service, that's how we make a difference in the world. Thank you for joining me for 3 Minutes of Theology. Until next time, bye-bye.